Australia has now reached 200 coronavirus cases after 3 more were confirmed in South Australia. Overnight, the federal government was rocked by news that one of its most senior ministers, Peter Dutton, was admitted to hospital after testing positive for COVID-19. The Prime Minister says he doesn't need to be tested, but he has decided to cancel plans to attend a rugby league game tonight. Political reporter Anna Henderson has more from Parliament House.
Shadow Health Minister Chris Bowen, who was talking about what seems to be, in his view, mixed messaging on how people should respond if they have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. So Chris Bowen's point is that at this stage we know Peter Dutton has been diagnosed with coronavirus and he is admitted to hospital, recovering, as we understand it, from the illness over the next 14 days. And the question is whether or not that broader advice, which says to the community, if you've been in close contact with someone who has coronavirus, should be extended to the Cabinet room, given they met on Tuesday, just a few days before we got confirmation yesterday that Peter Dutton is in fact ill. Now, the advice that the Prime Minister has been relying on, he says, from the Chief Medical Officer, is that it's only the preceding 24 hours before symptoms emerge that members of the front bench need to be concerned about, and given this Cabinet meeting was a few days earlier, it's not an issue. However, Chris Bowen says that that is not clear to the public. It's a different message in his view from what everybody else is getting, and he's questioned why it is that the government is not taking the same measures of self-quarantine that they are asking of the community.
Of course, we have the news that Peter Dutton has been diagnosed with COVID-19. Now, of course, we wish him the best. This is not a pleasant disease and, he's in our thoughts. We wish him all the very best and his family. I've been concerned about the mixed messaging and the apparent inconsistency about the approach that the Prime Minister and Cabinet are taking, which is different to the approach recommended to members of the public.
Chris Bowen there. So, Anna, has the Prime Minister responded so far?
We had that initial press release from the Prime Minister last night confirming obviously that he was aware of Peter Dutton's condition and saying that the Cabinet team was not in a position to be self-isolating or needing to undergo additional testing themselves. And then we had that further update from the Prime Minister saying that he would not, after all, be attending that football match this afternoon, that he decided against it because he didn't want it to be misrepresented. But in terms of the latest commentary in response to Labor and also the broader question of how the Prime Minister should be acting, we've had the Chief Medical Officer outline why this advice has been given, why the Prime Minister has effectively been given the all clear from having to go through medical testing off the back of Peter Dutton's diagnosis. And here is Brendan Murphy explaining why it is that he has taken this position.
The Prime Minister was very, very clear to me that the Cabinet and all the public officials follow the exact same public health rules as everybody else in the Australian community. If there had been a requirement for quarantine, he was insistent that government and Cabinet followed those rules. So we just followed the normal public health advice. No one had been in contact with the Minister in that period.
We know that Peter Dutton was in Washington at the end of the previous week and he met with the President's daughter, Ivanka Trump. He was also with the Attorney General, William Barr. There's photographs showing them meeting in what seems like close contact, but of course all of these pieces of terminology are now defined in particular ways, as the Chief Medical Officer said. So we know that Ivanka Trump since then did a work from home period of time before being cleared by the White House medical staff of needing to have a further quarantine period or a test. We also know that Peter Dutton came back to Australia, that he went to an event in Queensland at a university, Sunshine Coast Uni, where he was in contact with a lot of members of the university community, and then that Cabinet meeting on Tuesday. And we've just had information come through in the last hour from our reporter at that Chris Bowen media conference with images of deep cleaning apparently happening on the floor where Peter Dutton's office is, and also in the general area, because of course that Cabinet meeting we understand was held in that building. So it appears that there is a process of extensive cleaning now happening at the Commonwealth parliamentary offices in Sydney to try and deal with any residual issues relating to infection that could arise.